couldn't give a fuck whether you like it or not. I'm going to say it. If I've got something to say, it's not about gaming the system and building a personal brand. It's just I've got something to say.
From GoFounder, it's Business NoBS. Why is it called Business NoBS, you might ask? Well, there might well be a few knobs on the podcast, me being one of them. But what it stands for is Business No Bullshit. This podcast series is all about the trials, tribulations, and occasional successes of starting and growing a business without the Hollywood filter. I'm Eddie Whittingham, and today I'm going to throw all podcast conventions out the window because we've got on the show someone who's already been on. And it's by his own request that he came back. Remember the first episode where Dan Kelsall and I talked frankly about how starting and running our own businesses had an effect on our mental health? Well, in this episode, I'm pleased to welcome Dan back, where we talk about all things investment related, with the usual brutal honesty.
That's why it's so fucking difficult. It's just being as creative as you can to figure stuff out. It's just one big figuring out period. But I don't think you do that or you go through the same process if you've got a fucking shitload of someone else's cash in the bank.
No. I've known Dan since we were both on a business accelerator program together. At the time, he was running a business called Vonkel, where he'd successfully taken on investment. I remember when I first started out that I was almost in awe of people who had investment. In fact, the business accelerator program we were on placed this weird, godlike attachment to the whole idea of getting investment.
How often do you see posts, right, on LinkedIn with a fucking shit ton of engagement on them, with people, clapping them in because they've raised a second round of investment, right? But you rarely see posts where it's like, this is how much we've made this year and this much was profit. Yeah. And everyone claps them in.
But as my business matured, for which I hadn't taken on any investment, I started to see through the cracks. Throughout the whole startup community, there still is, a strange obsession with getting investment, as if that in itself is a mark of success. You'll see it lauded over in the local papers too. X company has got Y investment, yet there's little fanfare around those quietly building profitable businesses. And here's the interesting bit. After selling my business, Dan and I actually discussed investment in his, Offended Marketing. And as much as I wanted to get involved because, quite frankly, I knew it was going to take off, I know Dan personally and I told him he didn't need it. So today we're catching up about that very topic of investment, the idea of investment, the weird obsession with it, and whether Dan did need it after all. We jump into this episode where I've just asked Dan why he was so keen to come back onto the podcast.
To be honest, mate, I was getting a bit fucked off the other day with all these kind of different startups and the way that nobody seems to make a profit anymore. Everyone's just getting investment from people who just seem to be chucking money at busted flushes and fucking
shit ideas.
Yeah, shit ideas, mate. So I just thought, you know what? Who's the man with the platform to I can rant on?
Yeah,
it's Ed.
This is it.
Yeah, that was it.
Business NoBS.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good topic to talk about because there's tons of it.
Yeah.
There'll probably be bits we've even been guilty of previously ourselves as well, but no one addresses it or talks about it. It seems to be a thing that's kind of accepted. So, there's loads of shit businesses out there that are getting investment that shouldn't be getting. So there's a couple of problems. People asking for investment when they don't need it, and there's also people giving them money when they don't need it. But there's also an unhealthy obsession with chasing investment.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I mean, it's not new. It's been going on for ages. But what I don't get, it just seems like the whole kind of simplicity of building a business, and by simplicity I mean just the things that actually matter. I don't mean it's fucking simple to build a business, 'cause it's not. But that seems to have gone out the window. Whereas I was chatting to Dean on my business partner the other day, and we were saying the same thing. We were saying basically, like, we seem to be doing well because we don't know that much about business. All we know is you've got to make more money than you spend.
I completely agree.
And that's why it works. So it means we get a decent cash buffer. Our cash flow is good. As long as your cash flow is good, as long as you're making more money than you spend, and you've got a bit of money in the bank in case you have a shit month, that's the basics of business, surely.
Well, 100%. So when I started, my old man, he's not in business himself. He worked as a salesperson. But his classic advice, which is bang true, was always, it's not what you take, it's what you make.
Yeah.
And it's true. But
100%, mate.
I see loads of businesses, they're driving after revenue, not profit, or they're actually not even asked about revenue or profit even. They're actually driving for investment. So their sole focus is, where's the next round coming from? Where's the next round coming from?
Exactly. Which is fucking, to me, it's absolutely mental.
Of course it is.
But what I don't get, they almost seem like a lot of these tech startups. There's a few I know in Manchester, right? This isn't slagging them off. No, in fact, it is.
It probably is. Yeah. Here we go.
But they seem to just have survived for the last 10 years on investment, right? I know of 10-year-old startups that are making as much a year as we're making now, right? We're a year in.
And they're probably not profitable yet. Or
there's no profit. No, mate, they've got a fucking teams of 20, 30, right? And somebody keeps putting money into that, right? It just seems like a fucking big Ponzi scheme. I don't know how they're doing it, right? Because the one thing that they're brilliant at, right? They're actual fucking magicians. Is fundraising, which is mad.
That maybe that's the business they should go into.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I see, we've seen it. I mean, we first met in an incubator in Manchester, and I saw loads of people just chasing investment, and I still see it now, and I don't get it. Like, I started off and it was a shit idea when I first started. It was like corporate investigation work. I was selling my time, doing reports at 120 quid plus VAT, and the reports were taking me like 3 hours, and it was just stupid.
Yeah.
But at least I knew, right, well, if I allocate X amount of time, it's going to return Y. I knew how much I needed to make money, basically, and that was a basic principle.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy to go after investment because you are living in denial longer about your business either working or not working. Yeah,
definitely. And it's, like I say, you remove the risk, right? It's someone else's money. Yeah. Why do you give a fuck? I mean, but I tell you what's weird as well is how much raising investment is applauded.
Yeah,
in the business community. Like, how often do you see posts, right, on LinkedIn with a fucking shit ton of engagement on them and people, clapping them in because they've raised a second round of investment, right? But you rarely see posts where it's like, this is how much we've made this year and this much was profit. Yeah. And everyone claps them in. It just doesn't happen.
Not sexy, though, because investment numbers are sexy, aren't they?
Yeah, it's fucking big. Yeah, because they're massive. Well, but that's not what it's about. Surely it's not. I mean, we kind of, when we first started this and even like 6 months ago, we had a few ideas and we thought, we'll go and try and get loans. Couldn't get them. Yeah, because me and Dino don't have much credit history between us. And it's a new business. So people weren't going to take a risk with us. So we thought, we'll go down the investment route. But number one, the percentage that people want is ridiculous.
Well, we even had a chat, didn't we?
And we had a chat, and you were like, mate, you don't need it. What the fuck are you doing? And you were right. And now, by keeping our profit margins high, we've ended up with a decent cash buffer, which is. And
I taught myself out a good investment there.
You did, yeah, you did, yeah, exactly. So, but I cannot get my head around why that's become the main thing. And
the
also,
benchmark for success almost, isn't it?
There's a startup I know of that was fucking, they were making about 300 grand a year, and they were telling investors and potential buyers that they're going to be worth fucking 30 million in 2 years. What fucking planet are you on? How?
So I think people go after investment on the basis that they think that's a necessity in order to build a successful business. Yeah. And to some extent, that's true. If you're building the next Facebook, you're probably going to need investment.
Yeah, you're not going to, let's just get it straight. You're not going to build the next Facebook.
Correct.
No one is.
Yeah.
Right?
It depends what sort of business you're trying to build. I think there's a stage when you need investment, and that's a stage where I was getting at with the Defence Works, where we had good turnover. Obviously, we was already kind of acquisition ready, clearly, because we got acquired. But to get to that next level, we would have had to have some investment.
Yeah.
But that was an established business 4 years in. Yeah. That's completely different to a startup.
Completely different.
So it is a good example. So I frequently, since selling, I frequently will spend time at my own day, before work, after work, kind of working hours. Yeah. I'll take calls. Yeah. So I spoke to somebody, reached out on LinkedIn, wanted to chat about investment. So I said, yeah, cool, no worries, I'll have a chat. So he pitched his idea to me, and I hope he don't mind me sharing this story, but pitched the idea to me, and he said, yeah, I'm going to need investment. And I was like, right, okay. He says, I've done my research, which normally means I've really not fucking done any research. And I'm going to need £500,000 to get this live. Right. Wow. And I was like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Finger in the air stuff. how on earth have you come to that figure of £500,000? And he's like, well, I'm going to need this. It's this platform. If I do it, it's going to be the next big thing. Well, yeah, we all think it's going to be the next big thing. But on the call, I said, look, I know full well you don't need that money because I've done that mistake. And I'm not slating you. I'm not having a go at you, but I've been there, done it. I went and spoke to an investor. I asked for 200 grand. He pretty much laughed me out of the meeting because I didn't know what I needed it for. But then during that call, while I was actually chatting to him, I was on my laptop and I found some software that you could buy, and I kid you not, for $59, and it would at least be his MVP, his minimum viable product, to get him up and running, to test it, get some money coming in, and then he could have even maybe then thought about investment. But he'd come and said, I need £500,000, and I found him something that would work for $59. I dare say he might not have taken that on board because it sounds ridiculous, because it is ridiculous, but it's true. You don't need that money. Yeah,
but I wonder how much of it, though, is just people aren't prepared to work hard.
Correct.
Because that first year of business is fucking nuts, right? The first year of Offended, when I was building Offended before I had anyone, I was charging about 300 quid a month, right? Doing a shit ton of content and about 1,000 clients, barely sleeping. Yeah. But that's because I had to build trust in the market and I had to work my ass off. And now we charge, kind of mid-range agency fees, but it's been a while building up to that.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether half of it's just people think, I've got a good idea, but I want to be on a good wage. I've got a lifestyle. I've got a fucking, a Merc on finance to pay for.
This is what gets on my tit. So the people who take investment and then they're paying themselves good money.
Yeah, that's fucking bonkers as well.
Of course it is.
You can't, in the first year of business, be on 60 grand a year. If you're doing that, you're an absolute fucking
tool, because you're also but you're also robbing Peter to pay Paul there, because you are limiting your own chances of success because you're taking money out of the business that doesn't need to be taken out. You might have your own personal circumstances which need to earn income, but you need to have your own risk attached to it. Otherwise,
100%.
Someone gives me £500,000 to start a new business, I'll start paying myself 100. Thanks very much. And if it dies in 5 years, well, thanks. I've had 5 years of living like a king, Anna.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental. I mean, if you've got a really nice lifestyle now, right, and you've got this really nice car and finance, you've got your mortgage, you've got all these things to pay for, you like going out at a weekend and all the rest of it. You've got this amazing business idea, but you don't want to give it your lifestyle. Sorry, but you don't start a fucking business.
Correct.
Don't start one.
Yeah.
Fuck off and stay in your job, your nice little comfy job.
Yeah, and that's absolutely bang on. When I first started, I was doing those reports at 120 quid, it was absolute garbage. But we were just basically living off my missus's wage. Yeah. So I'm sure there's people now who will sort of say, yeah, well, you've done all right, Eddie, so you can say these things. But looking back, people I know will have been laughing their tits off at me, leaving the legal industry to go start my business at the time in corporate investigation. So, fucking hell, have you seen Eddie? He's just studied however many years, got him that much debt to go to law school, then fuck it off to go into corporate investigation work. What a dickhead. But they didn't see that time where we were living just off my missus' wage. We didn't have money. We weren't going out. We were going out with, 8 quid in our pocket to the Weatherspoons to have a couple of pints each and come home. But that was it. But we were happy doing that. But then even when I started what was BFPP, then the Defence Works, my first monthly deal's 15 quid a month. 15 quid. Yeah. Average deal size towards the end was more like $2 grand. Yeah. Well, $2 grand a year, sorry.
It's a learning curve.
Of course it is.
Take what you can get.
Correct. And you learn on the job, and that's part of it, which I think people who get investment think they can skip learning on the job because the investment will pay to bring all this expertise in. Yeah. To help them skip that, and you can't.
But it's mental, and you see it. And we were talking about this the other day. And if you've got a startup, right, and you are started right at the start, and you've got this new idea, and you get a shitload of investment, and you start bringing experienced bods in from the corporate world, like such and such a body's a fucking chief financial officer from what's a place. You've got fucking this big market director from another place, and they're coming in. These guys generally, if they worked in corporates, have never built a startup from scratch. Correct. There's a lot of difference between, especially in like the marketing game, for instance.
Yeah,
you can be the biggest marketing director on the fucking planet for the biggest brand on the planet, but if you've never marketed a startup,
if you weren't there,
and built a brand from scratch, you're not the right man for the job or woman for the job.
There's no point me hiring marketing director at Coca-Cola to come out, the current marketing director at Coca-Cola to come out and me build GoFounder.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
What you need is the person who helped start it back in the day. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You need the people who've got the experience.
That's why more often than not as well, there's different, there's acquisitions and things, and they replace teams, and there's different squads. There's a completely different squad that starts the business.
Correct, at different stages.
The corporate squad.
Well, it's like me with the defence work. So had I have carried on and not been acquired, I would have needed a different type of help in the business than what I was capable of. Because I'm capable of taking a business from an idea through to conception and building that. But to take it from a sort of a semi-established startup to then, turning over 10 million, that's a different ballgame.
Yeah. Of course
obviously, you can learn, and I'd have learned along the way.
Yeah.
But it's a different ballgame.
It is, and also it's a different type of person as well. I'm not sure I'd enjoy that. I thought, I'm not going to fit in a corporate environment. It doesn't matter what you do. Imagine me sat at the top of CEO of a fucking 20,000. I'd get booted out straight.
Imagine the lawsuits.
Yeah, I'd be fired in a week.
Yeah.
But it's a different type of person. You and I wouldn't enjoy that. And the challenges aren't my sort of challenges. I like building stuff from scratch. I like being able to figure out new ideas, and that's me. No matter how far Offended goes, we're either going to get acquired, or if Offended became big and a big corporate kind of agency, I'm gone because I just don't suit that environment. I'm not comfortable with that. But it's just money makes people make daft decisions, and we know how easy it is. The more you've got, the more you spend. Everybody knows that. And especially the more, the saying should be, the more of somebody else's money you've got, the more you spend, because you'll flush it down the drain because you don't understand the value of it, and you don't really give a shit about it as much as you would if it's yours.
I mentioned this on the podcast before, but for me, I went and spoke to someone to try and get investment, and it was definitely, I think I need, and I asked for 200 grand. Now, I know that is a ludicrous thing to ask for. Now, I didn't at the time. I was convinced I needed that money to do X, Y, and Z, but lo and behold, I got knocked back for it. It made me think again, and then I ended up building what I would have probably spent 200 grand on myself and learning about it, and then I knew it inside out. And I just look back and think, he must have thought, what a knobhead, asking for 200 grand, because I just was talking out my ass. I didn't know what I was on about. But that's purely because I thought the money would shortcut the hard work, really, in hindsight.
Yeah, definitely. And I was the same. I was really naive, and I think because we both had existed in the same environment, that kind of startup-y, accelerator environment. I kind of thought that I needed it, and when I went for investment, it was just naivety. Number one, I raised too little for what I was actually trying to do. Didn't spend it very wisely because I didn't understand the whole flow. I didn't understand what I was actually trying to do with this money. I just got cash, and now I've got to spend it and figure out what the fuck I do. And then on the back of that, because the product wasn't where it needed to be, we struggled to raise again. I was going into pitching VCs, an idea that really I should be pitching to angels, and even they might not have taken a punt on it. And I'd basically flushed, some guys, it's as much his fault as mine, but I basically flushed some guys' money down the toilet because as much as the idea was good and the idea was strong, and
you had the best of intentions. But the business was flawed.
Yeah, exactly. I should have had a working MVP and been at that stage before I had even thought about raising money.
Yeah,
is the reality of it.
Yeah. I think you touched upon a point there of not knowing what you were doing with the money. So I'm working on a project at the minute where we have tried to build the tech stack ourselves, which didn't go particularly well, and it was shit. But by going through that entire process, what that's helped us do is really get a better understanding of the whole user journey. And then now, when we've gone to someone to help us with it, we know exactly what we're asking for. We know exactly how it should work. And therefore, not only the cost reduced, but we're going to get definitely what we need out of it, or at least a lot nearer than what we would have done had we have gone on day one and gone, we've got this idea, right? And they'd have had our pants down, because that's how it works. So by trying to cut costs early, you get a better understanding of your market, because you have to be creative as well.
Well, of course you do. Yeah, of course you do. And that's a big part of it. And I just think you're always going to be less creative with someone else's money. And the more of it you got, the less creative you're going to be. But you can always...
You've got no risk, have you? Then your back's not up against the wall.
No, exactly. But surely the whole thing about being a fucking, starting a business is being as creative as you can. That's why it's so fucking difficult. It's just being as creative as you can to figure stuff out. It's just one big figuring out period. But I don't think you do that, or you go through the same process if you've got a fucking shitload of someone else's cash in the bank.
No. I
doesn't work,
agree.
so.
No, I agree. And
Not the same mentality.
No, it's not. And you need to have that thought of, shit, I can't afford to eat. Or if I don't do this, because it's your driver, isn't it? Like, whereas
100%.
I'm under no illusions. Had I got investment, I don't think I'd have ended up selling my business. In fact, a really good example, a competitor of ours set up around the same time. I can't remember exactly when, but around the same time, they got investment.
Yeah.
So we're in a situation, we've got two businesses doing exactly the same thing, one with investment, mine without.
Yeah.
Obviously, that person then had to be accountable for their actions and things like that, which I didn't have to be. Yeah. We ended up kind of obviously building in the same sector, obviously given what we did, and I got acquired last year. Now, you'd think logic would dictate that the person who got the investment would be further ahead.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
Yeah.
Whereas I had to think more creatively and do things differently, which is ultimately what led to the acquisition. Yeah. Rather than, for example, them being acquired. Now, don't get me wrong, that company may well go on and get acquired in the future, which I hope they do. I wish them well. But your perception of it would be that they'd have won the race almost.
Yeah.
But it's 100%. Not always, money doesn't equate to success, and it goes back to our early point of people chase investment like a benchmark of success, which is absolutely fucking nuts.
Yeah, it is mental. And you know what as well? I think the sooner you I honestly think as well, because you were able to go further with your brand, like if someone gets investment, you're putting another person into the mix, right? Yeah. And generally that's quite a powerful person. They've got a lot of money. They probably sold a business. They used to be in charge, right? They're gonna, and there'll be certain stipulations of that investment where you have to kind of fall in line a little bit. You've essentially got a boss, right?
And even on an unconscious level, to interject, you're going to look up to them.
Yeah, you are, definitely, which affects what you do. So, if you think about offended, right, the one reason we were able to do what we do is because we genuinely don't give a fuck. Like, if I want to say something, I'm saying it. I don't give a shit. If that's, but imagine if I had investors, old blokes, and I'm, for instance, my last LinkedIn post, slagging off the council online. They'd be going off their head. Yeah, they would. They'd be going off their head. I couldn't do that. But also that would negatively affect the brand because of their influence on what I'm doing.
How freeing is it to not be accountable as well?
I absolutely love it, mate.
I was driven by being accountable to myself. Yeah. If you're not driven by that, you're in the wrong game.
100%.
But if you are minded to chase investment, then I think the danger you have there is you're just making a job for yourself. You've basically got a boss. You've got to answer to people. You've got to produce reports.
Fuck, I tell you what, if you don't like spreadsheets, don't get investment. Yeah. There you go. That's one thing that should stop you doing it, because I fucking hate numbers.
The best thing I ever did was not get investment. I'm so glad I made 100%. A knob of myself and asked for 2. If I'd have asked for 30 grand, I might have been given it. Yeah. But I'd have given probably 10 or 20% away of the business. Yeah. Which would have made the exit a lot less valuable to me. All that sort of stuff, and it's just daft.
It's weird. Like we could get it now. You look at our profit margins now. You look at how much we're making. And how quick we're growing. We could quite easily get it now, and probably for a decent percentage as well. Yeah. But we'd be fucking stupid to do it. Like you've always said, we'd be fucking stupid to do it.
Well, speaking candidly, we had a chat, didn't we, ages ago? Yeah. And I said to you, I'd be willing to get involved in that. But you don't need someone to get involved in that.
No, we don't.
Because obviously, you also
selfish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you also kind of went,
selfish.
I'd like to invest, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
You were right.
Exactly. But it's trendy to get investment in it.
It is. And it's just, but you know what? I think it's a bit fucking gimpy as well.
Yeah.
Just work hard. Yeah, you might need investment eventually.
Of course. Like we said earlier.
A lot of when you're taking a company to a certain level, generally, you will need investment. But honestly, right at the start and for the first few years, just fucking suck it up, work hard, make more money than you spend, right? And get enough cash in the bank so that you're fucking supported. Like, it sounds really simple when you say it like that, but it's not rocket science. The only thing you should be concentrating on is making money. Yeah, like you said before, if you want to be a good fundraiser, go and be a fucking fundraiser. Yeah, like fundraising isn't building a business, in my opinion.
No, it's not, and people need to. I think people will say, "Oh, but I need, I don't know, 30 grand to start the business idea," and that's probably true if it's a product-based business. You're probably going to need some, but. The question you've got to then ask yourself is, well, how else can you get access to that money?
Get that 30 grand from somewhere else. I mean, look at like what's Airbnb, who sold fucking Obama O's like a cereal. Yeah. Right, with the election. and they made, what was it, 30 grand, something like that, to start Airbnb. Like that's what starting a business is. That's what, gimpy word entrepreneurship, but that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
To figure out and become creative, to be able to find the money that you need to start it. Don't just go to some old rich bloke and go, I need some money.
Correct.
To me, like,
you're going to fail out because that is an easy, contrary to what people think. That is an easier route than actually doing it the hard way.
Yeah, I've made that mistake.
Yeah,
I've been there and I fucked up.
Yeah,
yeah, but never again. We might go for investment one day. Chances are, if I ever get to that stage, I'm probably been fired already anyway.
True, yeah. But it's like I said there, innit? You might do that. You might have another venture later down the line where you do recognise to take it to another level, you're going to need investment.
Yeah.
But to get there, you're going to have the drive to do it. And look, I'm sorry, if you're paying yourself 50 grand a year out of an investment, out of the investment money, you're probably not going to do it. Or, you at least need to be measuring your wage against the sales you make or 100%. something.
But these startups as well that do it, and we know of startups that pay, founders that pay themselves that much, right?
Yeah, sorry if we're offending anybody.
I'm not. But who's signing off on that?
Yeah.
Why is an investor not looking at those numbers and going, you paying yourself what?
I'm interested in investing, but if anyone came to me and said, yeah, I'd like some investment, I'd say, yeah, I'd hear them out, obviously. But if there was a wage in there, I'd tell them to fuck off. I honestly would, because
100%.
Not because you don't deserve to get paid. Of course you do.
Yeah.
But unless there's an appetite to drive you forward and earn that money, maybe I'd possibly consider minimum wage.
Exactly. Well, mine and Dean's wages are based on dividends.
Yeah.
Based on how much profit the business makes. If the business is fucked 1 month and makes no profit, me and Dean get diddly squat.
Perfect. Best way to do it. Yeah. And I didn't take money out of my business. I'll have to go back and check, but for a good number of years, like 2 years at least, in terms of any wage, I think it was 18 months until I even took basic wage out. And then I started taking basic wage out, and then there'd be some dividends depending how well the business was doing. But largely, for me, the period I was a business owner, I was piss poor. Yeah. It wasn't until I exited that I've now got a bit more money. But the period of actually running the business, I was piss poor because I wasn't taking the money out because I was reinvesting it because there was always like another project to put the money into or risk it.
Yeah.
But I found that far more rewarding because you're burning your own money there. So if something doesn't work, it hurts because I could have gone on holiday with that money rather than doing that stupid idea. Yeah. But you learn from it. But if if you'd given me 50 grand and I just spunked it all on something that didn't work, I'd probably shrug my shoulders.
But you're a lot more cautious with it. When we're doing things, we test it out. Like we're doing a little merch range now, but we're doing a little run. Just see what happens. We're not going to go fucking, if I had 20 grand in the bank, I might go, right, we'll stick 10 grand on merch. It'd be stupid.
Yeah, you would.
Stupid. Yeah. Whereas now we're just going to test the water a little bit. It's our money. We've got to be careful. We want to keep money in the bank so we keep everyone safe and everyone's jobs are safe. But it's just that different mentality. My mentality in this business compared to my mentality trying to build a tech startup, completely different people.
What do you think's changed then to make you, I guess, more mature? Not a word that you normally associate with Dan Kelsall.
No, yeah, definitely not, mate. But just the whole environment when you're actually building a business on your own cash and your own time, it's kill or be killed, and it's survival. Yeah. When you're building it on someone else's business, you've got that comfort blanket. Mm-hmm. It's the difference between being brought up. I was going to say, I'm sorry if you're upper class, middle class. I'm not. You're all Brits,
unfortunately. But I'm not bitter about it.
But if you've got, it's the difference between being brought up in a working class environment and getting twatted at school and stuck in the bin all the time, and growing up in a private school or in Eton or whatever, and getting patted on the bum and told you're great all the time, and getting wrapped in cotton wool. There's a big difference between those upbringings, and one of them you're going to be more of a cunt. Same with business. Exactly the same with business. And I just think everyone should start off in that, especially in that first year, having to fucking fend for themselves and figure stuff out, because honestly your mentality will be completely different and you'll see money completely differently.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's interesting. So like, obviously I've done all right in terms of what I did with my business.
Yeah.
Now, I appreciate I'm podcasting and things like that, but you won't find me sort of fame hungry. You're probably not going to find me an MEN about he's done this, he's done that. Whereas how many businesses, for example, in Manchester, have announced like we've got this round of funding, we've got that round of funding, and it's who cares? It's vanity, innit?
You've got someone else's money in your bank account, but you're gonna have to give it back in some way, shape, or form. That's not
no, yeah, exactly, yeah. You've got to give that back. You've got to.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
No.
Show us when you fucking made 5 times that amount from the initial investment, and then people should be patting you on the head.
Correct.
Not just for raising the stuff.
No, it's a weird obsession, but the media, the startup community laps it up, like you said earlier, don't they?
Silicon Valley's to blame, really. Because it's changed mentalities. It's become, like I say, it's become fashionable. Well,
because we hear about Airbnb and Facebook and Uber. It's all unicorn stuff, in it.
But none of these guys did the original fucking let's go to an angel investor because I've got an idea and get 30 grand start a business, 100 grand start a business. All of these guys, they Facebook, they were all fucking devs. So they coded, built this platform, then got investment. Airbnb sold some cereal, built a platform, then got investment. Yeah, there's the startup community now is all, I've got to get investment to build the business.
Well, I was reading a statistic the other day, and it was only 1% of startups actually get VC funding or angel funding.
Right.
Why are we so obsessed with it when 99% of startups don't need it, clearly?
Yeah. So if you're trying to raise investment now, basically what we're saying is 99% of you are wasting your fucking time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. There you go.
Bit negative, but it's true, to be honest.
But they are.
So someone's got to say it, and
negatively positive. I'd call it.
Yeah, because
it's telling you how it really
and
is.
We're trying to save you some fucking money, because if you do manage to get your business sold for £2 million, you might not need that fucking money, and you've just given away 20% of that money to someone else for doing that.
Just because you couldn't be arsed doing that first year and working your ass off. I mean, the other problem with raising money as well is that you end up spending money on things that aren't necessary for the business right early. I mean, how many startups that we don't know in like the first year or second year, you've got fucking non-exec directors and they're chucking them some cash. What the fuck are you doing?
It gets on my tits, that. No, you don't.
I don't care who they are or what they've built before or how good they are. If they're charging you for your advice in your first couple of years of business and you're chucking money at, that you've got off some other old bloke at them to sit on your board and give you little snippets of advice, you're a fucking moron.
I agree, because I've obviously did what I did, and I sometimes think I've probably got a bit to give people, but I'd feel like a fucking fraud coming to you and saying, Dan, I'll happily give you some advice if you give me £1,000 a month.
Yeah, give me £5 grand and I'll come to your board meeting every month.
And I'll give you like little tickles of advice that your dad should give you. Do you know what I mean? Exactly, that's what it feels like, and it's like, I'm sure I have got a bit of knowledge that I can help people with, but I'd feel a fraud trying to flog it in a way.
But imagine the frustration of us having a non-exec director, some big wig who's built a big step. He'd be sat on my board going, right lads, what's your Ebitda? I go, I've got a fucking clue, but we're making a lot of money. The bank account looks pretty flush. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Like, well,
Contrary to modern belief, you don't. Well, let me be careful how I word this. I was going to say you don't need a good handle on your numbers. Bullshit, you do.
Oh, you do.
You need to be. You need to have a handle on them and know what your outgoings are, your incomings are.
We have a very good accountant who has a handle on that.
Correct.
Marv. Yeah. Martin Rafter is absolutely brilliant.
There you go.
He saved our ass a lot of times.
Free advertising right here.
There you go, Marv. Have a bit of that, mate.
But that's what you pay an accountant for. So the shit you don't understand, you ask them. You know that it's not rocket science. Like Ebitda, that blows most people's minds, including my own.
Yeah.
I don't need to know the ins and outs of that. I need to know how much money we're making, how much money we're spending, when we're going to run out of money, when we're going to need more money, which bits of the business are doing well versus others. Yeah. But my accountant can figure out the other bits, and then I'll meet with him and have a chat with him, and we'll fill in the blanks.
Yeah, exactly. Or in our case, he'll just do it all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Simple as that, isn't it?
It's a fucking good job, because I mean, Dean can't even pronounce Ebitda.
Yeah. Or spell it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that thing of if you get money, you are likely to waste it, aren't you?
100%. We all do. I mean, I remember like I used to work in recruitment, and every time I get fucking, a decent amount of commission, fucking hell, the next weekend was brilliant. The rest of the month, not so much. I'd somehow spend more money that month than I would on a normal month.
Yeah.
It's just people get giddy with money because people aren't used to seeing big figures. They get giddy with it. And what worries me is when people get so comfortable with chucking around big figures, that they
becomes numbers on a page.
Never understand the value of it.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
And I got guilty of that towards the end, like Defence Works, trying things that in hindsight were never going to work. Never going to work. Yeah. But you know what? At least it was my own money to burn and learn the hard way. I wasn't just wasting some other poor bastard's money. And I look at the things that even with a bit of money and starting a couple of things up on the side, I've got to be careful not to waste money there, because it's so easy just to throw money into stuff that on shit you don't need. Yeah. But I cringe at some of the stuff I used to put out that, you know, like images on social media that we made ourselves on Canva that looked absolutely shit. But it didn't matter. No, it doesn't. I still managed to build a business. I didn't need to hire the best graphic designer or a company that's going to do it. You can do so much yourself. It's just you probably can't be asked. Yeah,
you can't be asked, and you think everything needs to look perfect. That kind of chasing perfection is ridiculous as well. If you look at some of the content that we used to do for people, and some of the stuff that I used to do for people, like I was a glorified copywriter trying to figure out how to design and make videos and things like that, and they were all shit, but they did well because the content and the narrative was strong enough. But you look back at it, I think, fucking hell, that's embarrassing. But you should be looking like who was it who said it? You should be looking back on your first business or your first products and be embarrassed of it. You have to be.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's kind of like people are just chasing that perfection. They think they need the best thing ever, so they get a investment and spend 6 months building a platform before they even get it live and find out what their audience will actually fucking use it.
Well, it's that classic thing. I've heard it all the time on LinkedIn at the moment about, you know, you need to invest in your brand when you're a startup, and therefore you are going to need investment, because to get a really good brand, you do need to spend money. Well, not to get a really good brand, but if you want a fully polished website, a fully polished colour scheme, tone of voice guidelines, the full shebang, you're going to need to spend some coin. Therefore, you're going to need investment. But do you need that when you start? No. Guess who's telling you that? Oh, it's people who have branding agencies.
I know.
You don't need it. Not when you start. You're an absolute bellend. If you're going to spend 10 or 20 grand on a branding exercise when you're starting out, you're a dick.
Yeah, you're an idiot. But it's the same with marketing as well. I had a rant about it on LinkedIn the other week, because people are coming to me going, you know, I've got 10 grand a year to spend on marketing. What can I get for it? And I tell them what they can get for it, and they're surprised. Like, is that it? It's like, you've got to think about it, right? If you're spending 10 grand a year on marketing, you couldn't get a fucking marketing apprentice for that, right? So what do you think you're going to get from an agency? If you're a startup and all you've got is 10 grand is not a lot of money for a marketing budget. If all you've got is 10 grand, figure it out yourself. You'll be so much fucking better. You can do so much more with 10 grand yourself, figuring stuff out, than you can chucking it down the drain with a fucking marketing agency.
Right.
Everyone should be trying to figure out stuff. Marketing is not rocket science, I'm sorry, but when you get to the stage where you need more expertise and you've got the money in the budget to actually do something properly, that's when you go to an agency. But that could be fucking years off.
And I think this is actually a really key point, and it's veering off topic slightly, but when you're starting out, you're so naive to this sort of stuff that you fall into these traps. So you fall into the trap of like a branding agency telling you need a brand when you start out. Do you know why? Because that person's got loads of likes on LinkedIn. So you've got to do it. You've got to invest in your personal branding. You've got, if you listen to all the bullshit that's out there, before you've even started your business, you're going to need 100 grand. It's fucking bonkers. You just need to find something dead simple that you can sell at a profit and just increase it incrementally and do shit stuff yourself. It's fine if it's shit. If you're still getting sales, then it don't matter that it's shit. And then eventually, when your sales go up, you can invest in the better stuff. And there's this obsession to be like a finished article at the start. And I'm guilty of it, right? So I'm building GoFounder at the minute. So GoFounder platform to help people start the business. I'm guilty of it I'm trying to probably make it too polished in areas. The difference there is I've got time and money as a convenience really to do that, but it's still a mistake. It's still bad business. I'm still wasting money on that. I shouldn't be doing. So people need to like stop looking to these kind of established brands, and also stop listening to these fucking influencers on LinkedIn because they've got however many people liking them. It's talking out their ass.
And think about it though. Think about how they started off. So they started off and they figured it out for themselves. And now they're telling you that you have to come to them to figure it out. No, you fucking figure it out and figure out a way of doing it. Honestly, it's not rocket science. Everyone can figure out a way of marketing themselves. it's not rocket science, but eventually you might need expertise. You might need an outsourced agency because you can get someone to. It's more. That's more ease.
You might need someone to help you along with the ideas.
Yeah, some fresh ideas, exactly, and that sort of thing. But you need to start. Everyone should start off at the start, figuring it out for themselves. Everything. Because the more you know about stuff, the more you know about. Right, I know a little bit about tech. I know a little bit about marketing. I know a little about this. I'm not an expert, but I've done all this in the first start of the year, and I got the thing going, and I made money. You're going to be in so much of a better position doing that than you are just knowing fuck all, getting someone else's money and just fucking spunking it all over the place.
Correct. Yeah. So even in GoFounder, I'm building out the little modules to basically, it's going to walk you through, but you've got to do everything. So each module is going to take you a bit of time because guess what? You need to know how to do that shit. You need to know what is a tone of voice? How can you write your own? Where would you even start? You need to have a go at that yourself before you'll even figure out who the fuck you are and what you want to do with it and all that sort of stuff. There's no point going straight to a branding agency and going, I've got this idea, I want to spend 20 grand on a tone of voice, because guess what, your tone of voice is going to be wrong. You're not going to know the market. Your branding agency are not as invested in as you are. You've got to start small and then come to an agency. But that flies in convention of what these LinkedIn influencers and gurus tell you, because they're trying to peddle something.
They're all trying to make money, and the thing is, what the easiest, the low hanging fruit for influencers and people selling this kind of service led mentorship style stuff is the low hanging fruit is people that are starting off and naive and don't understand.
Yeah.
So that's why they're making money off those people, and actually those people aren't the people that need it.
Yeah.
They're the people who should be figuring it out themselves.
Correct.
And but again, it's not to slag people off who are doing that. I know that's your business, but people don't need it. People don't need it. They've got to figure out their own way of doing things, and that isn't doing things necessarily the way that you do things. I started off trying to do personal branding and figure out people's personal brands for them, and we've moved into to actually marketing businesses, because I realised that the personal brand thing was a bit done to death, and actually nowadays it's a little bit fucking gimpy, a little bit sucking yourself off really.
I've really struggled with this. So in my head, I was like, I need to kind of build my personal brand. And I post stuff on LinkedIn because I use LinkedIn a lot. But I don't really like building a personal brand, because then all of a sudden, to be a personal brand that's successful, in inverted commas, you have got to be a bit of a bell, because you've got to be you've got to say things that appeals to the mass audience to get the likes. You've got to end everything with "Do you agree?" It's just, it's all it's self.
It's sucking yourself off, and I think obviously, I'm guilty of it in terms of building. We built a personal brand and we built Offended off the back of it, but now I'm scrambling to try and get Offended bigger, because one thing I realise is that I'm never going to fucking sell this thing if it's Dan Kelsall. I'm only going to sell Offended if Offended is miles bigger than I could ever be. And it's because honestly, as soon as I sell Offended, mate, I don't give a fuck about being famous. I'm off living on an island, mate.
Yeah.
I don't like people. So, do you know what I mean? I'm not interested in the person. I only do this because it makes me money. It's marketing. I'm not here to make friends.
Yeah. But that flies in the convention what everyone's telling you at the minute, saying you need to build a personal brand. But I think people are getting that slightly confused with. So there's building a personal brand which can get you revenue, which is one thing in it, but you just need to be you. You don't need to build a brand and then be somebody you're not, which I think is what a lot of these personal brands tend to be. And
unfortunately, right, because it is just about saying it out. That's all I do. I say it is. I couldn't give a fuck whether you like it or not. I'm going to say it if I've got something to say. It's not about gaming the system and building a personal brand. It's just I've got something to say, and it seems to work. But the problem with personal branding is, and the reason it doesn't work for everyone is because everyone isn't likable. We've tried building personal brands with some people, and they just can never get there because people don't generally like them.
Yeah, and it comes through, doesn't it?
It does come through. It's cringy, and you can't do it. You can't do it. It's really, really so. We've kind of veered well away from that now, and realising that actually we've got to build brands. You can use a personal brand in the first instance because it's easier to then lead on to building a brand.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
that's a good way to. It's a good way to get started into. Yeah. But the longevity and the real value in the business is in the business brand. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but 100% use your personal identity and all that to build. Yeah,
that's a good thing to do in the first year.
Of course,
it's a good thing to do in the first year.
Yeah.
But you don't need someone to tell you how to do that. Generally, you can try and figure that out. Like I say, if you've got the personality for it. But that's one route to building a brand off the back of it.
But if you're a boring bastard, own it.
Yeah, tell
plain.
people you're boring.
Yeah,
I'm boring.
Although maybe they don't realise that they are.
Yeah, not very self-aware. People aren't very self-aware, are they?
Because I find I post stuff and I try and be pretty straight with stuff I post, but people don't always want to hear that. Whereas I'm pretty sure if I posted motivational bollocks and the fact that someone came in to interview and they're 2 hours late and the dog had died that morning, but I hired them because they had no experience, and then they turned out to be the best employee in the world. Do you agree? That'd do much better.
Yeah, but they always do, don't they? That's just the nature of it. That's just the nature of it. But I mean, like I say, I'm not saying don't build a personal brand, but that's just one route to building your own.
And I think it works
business.
particularly well in the early stages.
It does. It's more of an early stage thing. If you're still, I mean, there's a very well-known entrepreneur who's all over the place who, a lot of what was built off the back of his personal brand, but, but I don't know whether it's true or not, but according to reports, he didn't sell what was quite a big business for that much, really. Right. He made that much. And that's because they've probably given away too much equity when they were fundraising all the time. And now, as soon as the business is sold and gone, he's back to doing the whole "look at me." That screams you haven't made much money to me. Because as soon as I sell it, honestly, mate, I ain't going to be saying "look at me." I'm going to be going, "See you later."
You'll still be doing stuff.
Check out my yacht.
Yeah,
and I've come up with some other crap.
You'll still be doing something, wouldn't you?
Hammer.
No, probably not. You crash it. Yeah. But but I think seems to me like I'm not. You won't find a single piece of PR in the local rag or anything about me when I sold the business because I didn't give a shit. I didn't. It's literally my business. Like,
you sold it. Why do you need to tell everyone else?
Correct.
Who cares?
I'm doing it now in a way through the podcast.
That's a conversation, and you're building GoFounder off the back of it. So there's the
correct. And I feel like I've got a duty to fucking warn people about the idiots that are out there. Yeah. I'm trying to tell people in a way that I would have liked to hear it. And like you say, I'm trying to build GoFounder off the back of that. Really, I think I've almost got a responsibility to tell people what it's really like because there's so much shit out there. They need an alternative voice. Yeah. I'm not asked about my own.
No.
It's not a vanity project.
No,
it's a business.
It's not a vanity project. So honestly, I think the thing that drives me is I'm mentally disturbed, and I enjoy winding people up, pissing people off. I genuinely get a thrill out of it. Like, it's not a look at me; it's a look how pissed off you are. Yeah, I've always been like that. That's just me. It just so happens that I managed to build a brand off the back of it. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the whole point that we've been trying to make the entire time is you probably don't need investment right at the start. You probably don't, and you probably shouldn't be chasing for it because things won't work out as well for you 9 times out of 10. And you're also going to burn bridges because you'll have pissed off a load of investors for spunking their money up the wall with a shit idea.
Yeah. And don't just chase it because it's popular, because that is what we see in it. It's popular to do it, but you probably don't need it. Exactly. That's Dan Kelsall, founder of Offended Marketing. It's so good to see Dan's business going from strength to strength, and yes, I do feel a bit stupid about talking myself out of what looks like it would have been a great investment for me personally, but do you know what? We shouldn't all be out to get what we can get. Sometimes people should just help each other out without an agenda. But maybe that's another topic of conversation for another episode, as honestly, I see so many startups and their founders getting taken advantage of. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and you can also find out more about how we're helping businesses get started without the BS over at GoFounder.com. Once again, a special thanks to Dan Kelsall and, of course, to you for listening to Business Knobs from GoFounder.